Now, I was driving home from work, had a great day in the office, was cruising home, and I came around a corner and there was a booze bus. They pulled me into the bay despite it being full, and they immediately hit me with the drug test and the alcohol test. So I had about 3 officers circling the car pointing out different things. So that is when I knew that the reamage was going to begin.
Is there a problem, officer? We'll find out in a minute.
Guys, I got defected. And now this is where the mighty AU Falcon sits all day long. Just here. I was going 70, just chilling. It was peak hour traffic, and I came around a corner and there was a booze bus. As I came up to the booze bus, they straight away pointed the stick at me, said, "Get in here," immediately hit me with a drug test and an alcohol test, and then proceeded to pull me aside. Now, I came back negative to both. Obviously, I don't drink and I don't do drugs, believe it or not. As part of the drug test, they need to wait 3 to 5 minutes for the results to come back. So in this time, a highway patrol officer came over to the vehicle and started having a good look, and I could see he was calling his mates over. So I had about 3 officers circling the car pointing out different things. Now, I heard one of the officers say, "This thing is full drift spec," and from that moment I knew that I was shafted. Now, I can't remember the full name of the officer who actually handed me the defect, but what I have to say is that he was very unreasonable. I was being a good boy, I wasn't arguing, I was following all instructions, you know, being very respectful. However, I did not feel that they were respectful towards me. I know I was doing the wrong thing, but a little bit of respect would have been nice despite the fact that I was driving an illegal vehicle. I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about my experience of getting defected, because if you haven't been defected before, it sucks. And if you have been defected before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you sit in the car, you're very nervous, very tense. You see the police officers walking around your car, looking at things, pointing things out, and you just know that you are going to absolutely get bent over right now. The police officer that I was dealing with was trying to pin extra charges on me. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but if you live in the state of Victoria and you drive an illegal vehicle, right? Illegal. So there is actually a fine that they can give you. Now, I've had this fine. It was $770, 0 demerit points. Now, I know that other people have been major defected and they haven't received this fine. Now, my police officer really wanted to grab the towel and really squeeze all the water out of it. So the next thing he was trying to pin me for was the lack of P plates. Now, I don't have the P plates on the car right now because it's been sitting in the driveway and it's gone on another one of my cars. Mr. Officer was claiming that my P plate was not visible from 25 meters away, despite it being slightly off the glass and just tucked in, but you could still see it just flapping there on the inside of the car. Respectfully, I disagree. We walked away, had a look at the car, and he said, "You can barely see it." I was apologizing and I was saying that it's still visible. So Mr. Police Officer decided to drop the charges for that. So over here, I've got my pod filter. The pod filter, you know, might make a tiny little bit of performance increase, you know, nothing too extreme. And over here, I've also got my pacemaker headers, which are covered by the factory heat shield, and a redback 2.5-inch exhaust that has the correct amount of mufflers, has cats, etc. The police officer tried to pin me for driving a prohibited P plate vehicle. Now, I don't know about you, but a stock AU makes 150 kilowatts of the crank when they're brand new, like 156, something like that. Mine is low on comp and it is very tired. However, it does have a cam, exhaust, and pod filter. Let's just say that mine makes 150 kilowatts of the crank. The P plate laws is 130 kilowatts per ton at the engine, and this car is definitely under that. It is definitely P plate legal. However, because he said that my engine was modified, he tried to pin me for driving a P plate prohibited vehicle as well. So the officer then told me to get back into my car. He went off back to his BMW and was writing out fines, etc. And he came back to the car with a defect notice. He stuck the yellow sticker onto the windscreen and handed me a piece of paper, which was the defect and also a fine. So at the time, I was really angry, quite upset to be honest, because this car is pretty much my favorite car that I own. Let's go through the list of things that I got defected for. The first thing on the list of my defects was the front camber. AUs for drifting. We put about -6 to -7 degrees of camber in them. I was running that because I do drift this car, it goes to the track. So yeah, as you can see, I got the tilty boy stance here. and the police officer was not impressed by this. He was giving me a lecture about contact patch on the road and braking and tires, etc, etc, which is all relevant and correct information. The next thing that the police officer spotted was my racing steering wheel. He wrote it down as an airbag delete, which is totally fair. The police officer gave me another lecture about what happens when you get into an accident with no airbags. I think that this defect is half fair, to be honest. So number one, cars are road legal and everything if they don't have airbags, if they come like that from factory. So it is definitely fair in the sense that if I'd get into an accident, it would be really good to have the airbag there. However, there are cars that come out from factory without airbags. Like for example, a Nissan GQ Patrol doesn't have an airbag. Now, why that car is legal to have no airbags and it's perfectly fine for them to be driving around on the road, etc. Now, I do agree that airbags are a big safety thing. I have personally had my life saved. Should it be our choice to delete airbags or keep them? I think it should be. Now, a defect that I think was completely stupid and irrelevant was the lack of pedal covers. My rubber pedal covers fell off. There's one actually here. They said that it was extremely unsafe because my feet can slip off the pedals when it's wet outside, etc. Now, I understand that it's a little bit more slippery, but my feet have never once slipped off, and I've driven this car in the rain, everything. My feet have never slipped off the pedals. So the last thing that was written on the defect notice was ground clearance. So there was two actually. It was too low and ground clearance, which to me is the same thing. Now, they said that the car was far too low. They were making it out as if the car was literally touching the ground. However, no one got out the roller. They didn't check it. They didn't measure anything. You can pretty much fit 10 mil in most places, maybe just not the rear bumper bar on the sides over here, maybe just not here, but everywhere else I would say that this car is pretty much legal height. So some other honorable mentions of things that the officer was not happy about was warning lights on the dash. This car has ABS deleted. I know deleting your ABS is bad. Shout out to Liam, the previous owner of my car, for deleting it. You're a clown, JK, Illy. But the ABS light was on the dash, the handbrake light was on the dash, so they were not happy about that. They also were complaining about the coolant temp light. That is because I have my temp sensor is in a different spot because I have an XH head, so it's not at the back of the head like it is on the AU heads. And so that light was always flashing on the dash, and the officer was saying that that light as well was a safety hazard, which I disagree with. Other things that the officer picked up on was the hydraulic handbrake, the pod filter being exposed, a lack of radio surround because the radio just flops around kinda. Overall, in conclusion, do I think that this car being defected is fair? Yes, 100%. This thing deserved to get defected. Did it make me sad? Yes, I was very sad about it for a long time. However, I do fully agree that this car is unsafe for the roads. I don't think that it is as bad as they made it out to be. It is definitely far away from being a stock car. It's not the way that Ford intended the vehicle to be. That's all fine there. I did learn a lot from this experience, to be honest. That is why I have my other AU Falcon looking pretty stock, just over here. You know, no excessive camber, not too low. Thank you all for watching this video. I will be trying to post as much as I possibly can. We're going to be doing content with a variety of my vehicles, you know, some of my friends' vehicles. So it should be a really fun time. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace! Lick the turbo.